you.
I'm really well. I am still so in awe of you. I know we met a week ago.
Thank you.
You just seem to get everything right. I know everybody has a perception, but that's the way you come across.
Oh,
so
it's an illusion, but thank you.
Can you start by telling everybody?
I'm sorry, that was my sliding glass door that was just closing. Can you repeat your question?
Could you tell everybody a bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. So, well, first of all, I'm so grateful that we connected on this platform. Social media has been a part of my fabric for a long time. I was a news anchor for 28 years here in Houston for the NBC affiliate. Back in 2014, I started a YouTube channel because I wanted to connect with women in, I guess, a little bit more of a grassroots, down-home way. It's kind of funny, Caroline, that when you're a news anchor, people will write into the TV station, not so much about what you said, but, oh, you know, who does your hair, or what shade lipstick are you wearing, or where did you get that blouse, or, you know, how do you do that eye makeup look? And I just, instead of fighting it, I figured I would lean into that. And that's when I started my YouTube channel to basically answer those questions for women and to provide a space to demo and to show people what I was literally having to type out on a computer, step by step of how to do. And I just thought it would be a way to answer people's questions here in the Houston area. And it just mushroomed and it grew, and it went to different cities and different states and different countries. And it just became this amazing community of women in midlife who I guess wanted to see another woman in midlife talking about these things, you know, showing what makeup looks like and how it wears on our skin, you know, what products work for us, for skincare, for hair, for, you know, I've got naturally curly hair. How do you smooth it and tame frizz and create different looks?
Curly hair, by the way.
You do,
I love it when
you
go, when you say, no, I love you.
Oh.
When you say you look like your dog.
I do. I look like a poodle.
But I love that. I love it.
Thank
it looks
you.
amazing.
Thank you.
Both, but the other is a bit more relaxed and a bit more fun.
What
is midlife? Midlife to me is 50s, because we're at expectation we're going to live until late 90s, 100. So midlife is 50s.
Correct. I feel the same way. And I felt like, in a way, sort of leading into it with changes in hormones and going through perimenopause in my mid to late 40s, that was sort of like a little flag that was popping up saying, okay, time's coming. You know, you are hitting this phase and this stretch in life, and it's time to start dialing it in and figuring out what's going to work for you. And that meant an enormous amount of exploration. You and I had this conversation on my podcast just on Monday, just about, you know, how the body changes, how you have to honor those changes. You just can't sit still and think that the things that worked for you in your 20s and 30s are going to work for you in your 40s and beyond. It is a shift in mindset. It's a shift in behavior. And I just think that awareness and starting to find practitioners who are going to help me in that space and make me feel good, help me to feel good again, along with things that I had to do, you know, being strict with my eating routine, my exercise, my sleep, dialing it in. So I felt like midlife was coming a little bit earlier than 50, but I agree with you, Caroline, we are living so much longer, and we want the quality of life in those later years to be great. Yeah. It's not just about hair, skin, makeup. It's about bones. It's about mental health. It's about heart health. And all of the things that we do starting in our mid 40s on really set the trajectory for how our 70s, 80s, and 90s are going to play out.
Totally. And we want to be active. We want to be, because our brains hopefully are going to be working. So we need to be working.
Correct.
So preemptive medical care, even at being that perimenopause can start at the age of 37.
Yes.
You really need to know what is going on inside.
Yes, and I'm so grateful that there are so many conversations now happening about that. In fact, I just had on my podcast the host of a app called Perry, Perry, and it's an app out there for women, just like you said, in their 30s and 40s who are starting to experience perimenopause but have absolutely no idea what it is that they're going through. You know, they think that where's this brain fog coming from? Why am I experiencing anxiety? Why am I getting all of these bizarre symptoms? Why is my sleep off? You know, and they attribute it maybe to lifestyle stress, where they are in their lives, or, you know, some other condition. A lot of them get misdiagnosed with depression. So it's wonderful that there are all these communities out there now answering those questions and providing a platform for other women to say, hey, guess what? You know, when I was 36, 38, 42, I was feeling this. So there's a sense of community, and you're not alone.
There really is. That's what I'm
Yeah.
finding. When I saw my daughter modeling, for example, she had so much competitive, you know, she'd walk in and all the youngsters kind of look the same.
Yes.
Whereas we are finding ourselves, and we are also different, and you can find a tribe that suits you.
Yes.
So one of the comments, for example, on your post, which I shared, was, Dominique looks 1.5 decades younger than Caroline. Which, I mean, everyone's allowed to think what they like, but A, it's not a particularly nice thing to say.
No, at all.
But I do think generally we support each other more at our age.
I would agree with you. I have found a beautiful sisterhood and community, not just in my own community here in Houston, but online community as well. Women like yourself, women like Tamsin Fadal, who's a news anchor in New York, who is in this space. Dr. Mary Claire Haver, my friend, Dr. Barbie Taylor, who you follow, Dr. Susan Hardwick Smith. We are all women in midlife, in our 50s and 60s, who are out there saying, hey, this is an amazing time of life. This is a time where you can feel and be beautiful. You can express what that beauty means. And what I love about this stage, Caroline, is that there are so many different expressions of that beauty. Women like you who have allowed, you know, your natural gray to come in. If I had gray hair like yours, shoot, I'd be right there with you. I just don't. I just have weird little stragglers that make me look like the mad professor, especially when it's curly. But, you know, it's so funny. People make comments like that, and I'm envious of you to have that beautiful head of thick, lovely hair. So, you know, there is no right or wrong in any of this. There should be no judgment of what should be. I hate the word should, in 40s, in 50s, in 60s. Sometimes I get criticized for not having gray hair, and people will say to me, why aren't you embracing your aging? Well, I am. I just don't have a lot of gray hair. Yes. But it's just, there's so much judgment. And I wish, you know, as we talk about tribe, as we talk about sisterhood, the greatest gift that we can give each other is the gift of acceptance, the gift of embrace, and to release these shoulds and release these judgment calls based on who, based on what standard.
Exactly. Like they're saying, oh, your skirt's too short, or
yes.
Like,
so
well, then look.
Yes.
On.
Thank you.
Don't like it.
I'm the same way. I mean, I tend to skew younger in my clothing choices. You know, I love the looser, baggy clothes. I love, you know, crop tops or whatever. So what? So someone's going to say to me, I shouldn't because I'm 56. Well, no, that's not true. Just like you say, if you want to wear a dress or a skirt that's shorter because you have beautiful legs, go for it, sister. I say wear it as long as it makes you feel great. And it's not about, again, this standard of how we look. I have seen plus size women who carry themselves. They're so beautiful. They have so much confidence. To me, confidence is everything. And if you have that and you have security, you wear whatever the heck you like.
Yes, it is confidence and happiness.
Yes.
It exudes. It totally, it draws you in, and those are the people that you want to have around with you to keep you up, and that is what we all need.
Yes, we do. And it's a mentality, it is a sensibility, it is positivity. You know, the world needs more grace, more acceptance, more understanding, more forgiveness, and less judgment. And I think as we get older too, and I don't know about you, Caroline, but for me it's happened. My circle is tight. It's a small circle. And they say, you know, if you can count on your hand 5 people, right?
Yes.
That you can consider to be close, good friends, then that's a life well lived. And I'm all about quality and not so much about quantity. And I kind of think of it as like a ripple. You know, you throw a stone in the water and you've got the first ripple, and then it gets wider and wider. And friends are sort of like that. And my first stone throw, that's my core ripple. And then you've got people who are kind of in the next ripple, and then the next. And those are more acquaintances. But I don't concern myself as much with the thought processes or the judgment or anything of the people in that outer circle, because you know, they may be wonderful acquaintances, they may be great to see on occasion at a dinner or whatnot,
Yes.
but my core is what matters, and making sure that is tight and solid.
And not keeping those people around you that are negative as
Correct.
much as you go through that. Do I want to spend time with them? If you don't, and they don't help
Yeah.
you, there comes a time when you have to distance yourself.
Right. And those are hard decisions to make. And I think that comes with wisdom and age, where we sort of have a no BS monitor, right? And it's like, I put up with so much in the past. I tolerated and allowed, and I sacrificed, and I fell on my sword too often in the name of my joy and happiness, and no more. I'm not going to do it. So I agree with you. You have to make cuts where you need to, but you have to have the boldness and the courage to be able to do it, and to do it from a place of kindness and compassion, and just say, you know what, this just isn't serving me. It's not good for me. It's not healthy for me. And here's why. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person, but this is how I feel in the dynamic. And we have to be truthful and authentic in these ways.
But sometimes you don't actually want to tell the person it's because of their negativity.
Yes.
But it just, there are people who drain you.
Absolutely.
And you don't necessarily want to tell them that they are draining you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes by distancing yourself, that's a way of saying.
Yes.
Right? And
difficult when it's a family member. Somebody just said. Yes.
Extraordinarily difficult when it's a family member. That's tough. But you know, just because blood binds doesn't mean that it's something that you have to keep. You know, and I think I hear that from women so often, these healthy dynamics of how their parent treats them, or you know, a relative or whatever. And I'm like, all right, yes, you may be bound by blood, but does it mean that you have to subject yourself to hurt, harm, emotional abuse?
Yeah.
Why? Because you share the same name? I mean, boundaries need to be drawn there too, for self-protection.
Yes, we do need to protect ourselves. One of the things that I was going to ask you, I've written it down in really big writing so I didn't have to wear my...
That's my girl.
Because I didn't want to age myself another decade.
What with these? Hi.
You look fabulous, darling.
Thank you.
What about going out with no makeup on? I'm also very happy to do the no makeup thing, and to go out doesn't bother me at all. Have you always been like that, or did that also come with age?
Came with age. I'm startled about the fact that in my 20s, I wouldn't leave the house without the war paint on. And I don't know why. I guess it's because we're more insecure back then. And two, think about the time. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, and the 80s was so over the top, right? With makeup and big hair and big shoulder pads, and more was more back then. So it just wasn't a thing to be barefaced back in the 80s and, you know, early 90s when I was young. And I didn't feel comfortable with it. And then I got to a point where I felt like I had to have a bit of a mask on. I needed to cover my skin or cover pimples, or, you know, I had, you know, heavier German eyes. So I was like, well, I need to create an eye makeup look to open my eyes or whatever. And then you just reach a point where it's like, for who? For what? You know, accept yourself, let your skin breathe. And as I got older, I guess I started to value the fact that, hey, I like me. What am I trying to cover up here? You know, put on some moisturizer and a lip balm and out the door. And it just became the most liberating kind of no BS mindset and sensibility. And I actually...
You've done it.
Yes. And I more often than not go without makeup than I have makeup on. And I literally run around everywhere. And, you know, people will kind of recognize me out and about if I'm running errands, and I'll sort of get that look like, is she? I don't know. Okay, it doesn't matter to me. But then again, I've gone without makeup so often on my platforms. I think people are accustomed now to seeing me both ways.
Yes, which is great. Because it supports two tribes
Yes.
in that. Um, I'm 59, by the way. Somebody was asking how old I am, and this will be on my page after we finish, so it will be kept. I was going to say we did the makeup, and the bravery that comes with middle age also is just, it's great.
It's awesome. There is no other word. You couldn't hook me back into any other decade. You couldn't pay me enough money to go back, even in my 40s. And I thought my 40s were just rocking. And I am so much happy. And I think too, it's because I'm sort of past menopause and I'm dialed in hormonally where I need to be. So I'm not going through all those physical changes that I was going through in my 40s and all that struggle. So I feel I'm in such a place of peace in terms of my physical well-being, my mental well-being, just where I am in my life. I honestly couldn't be happier. And I hear that from women too. Moving on, they're like, wait till your 60s.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm going to be 60 next year. I can't wait.
I can't wait for you to tell me.
Somebody's saying very kindly, I look old. Thank you very much for that.
That's,
I hope I will look old when I'm old. So I want to look old for being middle-aged, because we like to use those different terms, middle-aged and old.
Yes. And we talked about that on my podcast, by the way, and I'm glad that you addressed that. And it just, it saddens me when, and people are now going to come to your defense and say, like, really get a life. It's rudeness. And I do find, and I don't know about you, this is a really good, maybe I'll ask you a question. Just talking about the keyboard warriors out there, and when you are in this space, and I don't think it matters what age you are. I think when you put yourself out there in a public format, you are exposed to hatred, you are exposed to criticism. It's just so easy for people who were voiceless in the past to now have a voice and a platform just to be ugly. How do you handle that? I mean, I know we have kind of similar approaches to it, but how do you not let that land on you and in your heart as we, kind of read these comments that are going by?
It does affect me to a certain extent, because nobody wants to hear nasty things said about them. But the defense from those people would be, as you said, you put yourself out there. So I have to agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes, I put myself out there, so therefore you are free to say anything. I'm hoping and I'm expecting that the people who do say the nasty stuff are younger. Therefore, they just need to grow up. And they will be our age at some stage. Yeah. Just remember, we have never been this age before.
Right.
This is all new to us, and it will be new to you as you get there. So good luck.
Yes.
Is all I can say.
Exactly.
It does upset me, and I do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say my husband made a really good comment, and I can't remember what he said. It was something about negativity, and going back to being a Stone Age person, you would come out of your cave looking for the tiger, not looking for the pretty flowers. So therefore, I'm looking at my comments. There might be 150 comments, but the one negative one, which is the tiger, is the one that I'm thinking about, which is ridiculous. So I'm very lucky to have a husband who sorts me out.
Yeah. Yes, and those reminders are very, very important. And also, I just think of the law of the percentage, right? It may be one tiger out there, but the majority, the 99%, are beautiful flowers, are wonderful, wonderful women who are supportive and complimentary. And it's true. I mean, even, psychologists will say it's the negative comment. You can hear 100 compliments, but one criticism is what's going to land and stick. And we really have to reprogram our minds and remind ourselves that what is true. Because if you ask yourself what is true, then you can immediately negate what it is that you just heard and not let that become a part of your fabric. And I think that's a question that we have to ask ourselves often. What is true? And then we can get back to what's real.
I love that. Oh, I wish I was in your close circle of friends.
You are.
Somebody's asked
from afar.
Somebody's asked me about exercise routines and everything. You do everything. You do your exercise, you do your food. Now, I'd like to know, no, midlife is not a crisis. Midlife is the best, without a doubt. I want to know if you have any vices.
Oh, absolutely. I do like my wine. So I just make sure that I temper it. I find that I feel better if I go without wine during the week, and then I enjoy on the weekends. If I'm out with my friend Holly or out on a date or, whatever, I'll have, my glass or two, and that's it. And then I allow my body to kind of, get off of it during the week. I do know just from reading and research, too much alcohol isn't a good thing. I have never been a big alcohol drinker in my life. So that's not a really big issue for me. But I notice that when I do drink, it does impede my ability to sleep well. And that is priority one. So that right there is my body telling me, okay, enjoy, but don't overindulge because you're not going to get a good night's rest. So I'm careful with that. Yeah, I enjoy a good pizza and I love cake. I love, Italian cream cake. And I love, I joke that my favorite cake is wedding cake. And whenever I get a wedding invitation, which these days, they don't come around too often, but whenever I get one, I'm already thinking about the cake, and I get 2 slices.
Yeah. Do you know, a wedding cake in England is really heavy fruit cake, and it has around the side, it has marzipan, and then I don't like the fruit cake. I only eat the marzipan and the icing.
So funny. Yeah, I mean, here it's so different. It's white and it's fluffy and it's, got layers and cream and buttercream and more cream and icing. And I'm just like, pile it on. The more icing, the better. I want the corner piece.
Me too. The corner piece is the best.
The best.
We don't do it every day.
It's a once in a couple of, it's not every day. It's not. Every day is the discipline. Every day is the protein and the vegetables and the healthy fats and a lot of nuts and staying away from sugar, staying away from flour, staying away from processed foods, shopping the perimeter in the grocery store, even ordering out at a restaurant, sometimes custom ordering and saying, sauce on the side or, without the potatoes. I mean, you just have to, I think once you figure out what works for you and really what works for most people works for everybody. There's basically a standard in the system. And I know you kind of walk that walk too. But when you eliminate the whites, which is the sugar, the dairy, the flour, soy, alcohol, whatever, your body responds immediately. And it doesn't take long to not only see changes in your blood panel, your organs, how you're functioning, which is priority one, by the way. But number two, I mean, within a week's time, you're physically seeing changes. You're seeing more lean muscle mass. You're dropping weight. You're seeing profound effects. And so that's the beautiful thing about the human body is its ability to change in both a good and a bad way, which means that we have the power, and it takes thought, it takes intent, it takes knowledge, and then it takes action. But we can harm ourselves just like we can heal ourselves.
Yes. And when you get that feeling that when you've eaten sugar and your body does feel different.
Yes.
It's just making choices, isn't it? When people say, I can't do it, you can, but you have to want that option more than the other. Correct. So it is possible to lose weight. It is possible. You don't have to be overweight during menopause or post-menopause. And if you're not happy with yourself, do something about it.
Yes.
If you look in the mirror and you're unhappy, if you don't like your skin, one of the best things I ever did in my whole life was seeing a dermatologist. And I didn't see a dermatologist until I was 50-something.
Mm-hmm.
And why?
Yeah.
I could have saved all that money on all that stuff I bought that said it was going to do something.
I know that really didn't.
No.
Yeah.
So it's expensive to go and see a good dermatologist, but you're saving money in the long run, and you can have great skin in your 50s that you didn't have before.
Absolutely. I agree with you. In fact, my dermatologist, Dr. Marjorie Nigro, is somebody I've had on my podcast and on my YouTube platform before. She's just a rock star. She put me on retinoid, which, as you know, is different from retinol. Retinol is what you buy, you know, your drugstore, your beauty store. But the retinoid is the prescription tretinoin, and it really, really dials it up. And she told me, you know, she put me on it when I was in my 40s, and it is the best. It is the simplest little cream you could ever have. And you just, as you know, you mix it with your moisturizer, and it creates that constant exfoliation in the skin. So it helps with fine lines, wrinkles, hyperpigmentation. It increases cell turnover, and you always have this beautiful, wonderful layer of skin only by going to a dermatologist and saving so much money.
People still buy retinol.
Yes, and it is a waste. I mean, look, it can only go so far. It's a baby step, but I'm with you. I'm like, and here's the thing. I mean, a dermatologist visit for like a well check is covered by insurance. So let's say you cross over into that cosmetic realm. You know, oftentimes through prescription, it depends. You know, your tretinoin can be covered to a degree, and if it's not, well, I think my tube of tretinoin is $100. It lasts me 3 months. So that essentially is like a $30 face cream a month. How many times have we spent that at the drugstore for face creams that won't do nearly what that does?
Exactly. Believing it's going to work and it doesn't. But I'll tell you, if you ever come to Dubai, we sell Curating, Ecretin, over the counter.
Do you really?
And you can get 0.025 or 0.05, and it's like 30 dirhams, which is 4, 8, 12, 16, £8, which is what, about $10?
That's amazing.
I know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's great.
Yeah, so there you go.
Strong retinoid, and the 0.05 does dry your skin out.
It does.
So you do have to start with the lower dose.
Correct. Yeah, I think it starts at 0.025, then the 1.05, then 7.5, and then 0.1, which is what I'm working with. I'm on the strongest one, of course, because I'm like, hit the gas. Yeah, but I've been doing it for so long. But here's the thing, when skin gets sensitive, either in the summer months from, you know, the sun, or in the winter months when things get dry, my dermatologist would say, don't fight your skin. Don't push it. If it's angry, if it's irritated, if it's red, back off for a couple of days. Give your skin a chance. Just give it a chance to kind of cool down and recover, and then start reincorporating it again in a lower amount. So it's all there for you if you just listen to your skin. It tells you what it needs.
Yes, absolutely, and it does get red and angry, and many people stop immediately.
Yes,
it's every other night, every third night, and just keep working at it.
Yeah.
Insurance plans should cover cosmetic procedures for price we are paying for it. Really? Gosh, I didn't know insurance covered cosmetic procedures. Please add all these nuggets as information about food and skin. I tell you, her page does, Dominique's page does. The sooner you start a good skin routine, the better. Retinol,
yes.
Retinoid. Did you mean retinoid, not retinol?
Correct.
Vitamin D, sunscreen always. Do you know,
Yep.
I used to spray with tin foil.
Oh, Caroline, it was horrible. And the baby oil with the iodine in it.
Yes.
And the reflector. It was so bad. What we did to our skin in the 80s. So bad. And you probably can't see, but I'm spotty. You know, I do lasers and such with spots, but I absolutely, it's a miracle that I still have skin on my body because it was so much damage back then. That's what we did. And then the tanning beds in the 90s.
Yes. Take that one.
Oh my gosh.
What was I going to ask you about? It's on the tip of my tongue. You just talked about it just now. Going back, I've got brain fog.
Skin, menopause brain.
Yeah, menopause.
Where were we?
Yes, it's going to be saved. Don't worry, it will be saved.
Oh, good.
I'm just going back to see if it was somebody's question. Um,
Your eyebrows are amazing. Are those your natural? You didn't tweeze them in the 90s, did you?
I did. Actually, that was something I was going to say earlier on when you were saying that you wore makeup early on. My mum was grey and didn't wear makeup, so I was
Yeah.
brought up A, that grey was okay, and B, I didn't wear makeup. But no, I did not tweeze my eyebrows either. But I do have about 5 nano blades. You know when they did
Yeah.
the
The
tattoo
microblade.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah, because they're a little bit patchy.
Okay. Yeah. I've done microblading quite a bit, but your brows are exquisite. I just keep staring at them. I'm like, oh, what I would give for brows like that.
So how can I accept getting older and accept aging? If you don't like it, don't accept it. Do something about it. And
Yes.
I have had a brow lift and I've had a lower facelift. And for me, when somebody says, "Oh, shall I get fillers? Shall I do this?" I don't like fillers personally,
Mm-hmm.
and I would save every penny and get a facelift every time. I'd wait, and I don't know how you feel about that, because you can
Yeah.
spend so much.
Yes. No, you can spend a lot of money on these micro treatments, and I would say that there are some that are worth their while. I mean, we talk about skin treatments, right? So spending the money on the retinol versus the retinoid. That's starter number one, just for good skin. And
Yeah.
then I've discovered too, and I've done Sculptra with my dermatologist, which is the injections. It's not filler. It stimulates your body to produce its own collagen,
What
which
was
is what I
that?
like
Which
about
one
it.
was that?
Sculptra. Have you heard of that, Caroline?
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I've done Sculptra, and they inject here at the temple, under the eye, the nasolabial fold, and it allows your body to create collagen to help create that natural lift in those places where we tend to sink, hollow out, droop.
Mm.
So I think those things are good. To me, I like anything that can encourage and support the body's natural collagen production, as opposed to injecting a foreign substance because you don't know what's going to happen. Yes, I mean, those things can be dissolved, but like you said, they're expensive. And you do a couple of those and you could have saved up for something more substantial. And I agree. I mean, there is absolutely nothing that will take the place of a cosmetic procedure. There are things that can help, like IPL lasers can most certainly help with brown spots. You know, they're wonderful kind of interim things, but it depends on what your goal is, you know.
Okay.
And some people don't want to do anything, and some people want to do something. And my feeling is that, again, this goes back to the beginning of our conversation. No judgment. Each woman needs to walk her own walk. Your choices may be aligned with mine, they may be different, doesn't matter. I'm not going to judge you for what you do. I accept you. Whatever you do, if it makes you happy, fabulous. That's all that matters. Everybody just needs to do them and stay out of the judgment business.
One thing I do find very difficult, that somebody was asking if you were still taking testosterone. I've stopped taking testosterone personally because I was getting too many whiskers.
Yes, that does happen. In fact, I had to dial down my dosage because I was starting to notice thinning hair as well. So the
Okay.
benefits, obviously, the benefits, well, you know, bone, muscle, increased sex drive, you know, all kinds of things. Even helps with oil production in the skin as we dry out. So there are a lot of benefits. You just have to weigh the benefit to the risk. You've got to talk to a practitioner. But I still do a testosterone pellet about every 6 months, just on the lowest amount to get the benefit that I need without the side effects that I was experiencing.
It didn't help with my sex drive, I have to say.
Didn't help?
Didn't help, no.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
another.
I don't know. Mine's pretty strong, so I'm just like, I don't know if it's helping or not, but I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah, because you're single. I think it's different when you're single.
Maybe so. Yes, I'm in that different phase. Yes,
Yeah,
of
it's
that aspect.
exciting and yeah.
Yes, yes, definitely so. So maybe it's not the testosterone. Maybe it's where I am in life, and I'm attributing it to a pellet. Oh, well.
So I'm off the testosterone. One thing I do find quite difficult though is when, and I'm not a gynecologist, and I speak to experts so they can explain, and I will be talking to a menopause expert next week. Is when people say, I didn't have any symptoms of menopause, therefore I don't need HRT. And
Yep.
I just want that person to go and see a doctor to get the other side of the story, because if you see a doctor who is against HRT, then you're not getting both sides. Whereas I think if you see somebody who is pro, I think they still both give you both sides.
Agreed. And it kind of goes back to the knowledge base that we were talking about that empowers you to make your own best decision, to be your own best advocate. And you're right. I mean, I hear from women too who say, I sailed through menopause, like nothing happened. And I'm like, great, wonderful, lucky you.
Yes.
But HRT, from what I have learned and from the doctors that I've spoken with, isn't just about mitigating the symptoms that are aggravating and a nuisance during menopause, but really it's, Dr. Barbie Taylor explains this perfectly. She says, back in the dark ages, women weren't expected to live past childbearing years. Once we went through menopause, we died. This was the end of our lives. So there was no need for quality of life, prolonged health. We didn't live past menopause. Well, here we are now living into our 80s and 90s, outliving men. What is the biggest issue these days for women? And everybody is concerned about breast cancer. That's the fear, which is what prevents a lot of women from getting on HRT in the first place. But the biggest killers of women, heart disease and Alzheimer's. From what I've been told by the doctors that I've spoken with, what can help prevent those things is starting HRT in midlife.
Yeah.
So, this is the kind of conversation that needs to happen. And I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to sit here and say what every woman needs to do. But I'm explaining why I chose to do what it is that I'm doing. A, I needed to mitigate some really horrific menopausal symptoms. B, I wanted to set myself up for bone health, heart health, mental health in my 70s and 80s, and hopefully in my 90s, if I'm blessed to live that long and have great cognitive function. I want great quality of life. Yes. And I will research and do and explore and try. And by the way, HRT isn't one size fits all. It's not one protocol for the rest of your life. As you know, your body changes, and what you do has to change with it. So it's and there's blood work being done. I mean, there's constant medical supervision, but done by people who are skilled professionals in this area. But I can't say enough about researching, reading, exploring, getting different points of view, listening to different women's stories. And thank goodness there is a plethora of information out there to be able to find it.
There really is. There is so much. And I love listening to these doctors, and I'm so disappointed that I can't help women when they just absolutely just, we're not going near it. And now my thoughts gone again. At the HRT, yes, because I did learn recently. I wanted to point out that during the pink month of October, I didn't hear anybody mention about men getting breast cancer. So that was one point that really stressed me during last month. But my thing, and I want to know what your thing is heart issues. 1 in 3 women die of heart issues, and 1 in 30 women die of breast cancer. It is so important, but nobody talks about hearts.
At all. At all. And it's about, look, a big part of it is media, the business that I was in. It's media, it's groups that have galvanized, it's groups that have garnered media attention. It's the big study that linked, the NIH study that linked hormones to breast cancer decades ago that freaked everybody out, and the media just pounced on it, and it was a flawed study. So, I think that's a big part of it, is whoever is the loudest gets heard. And, heart disease, you have all of these contributing factors that lead to it. We're more stressed than we've ever been. I talk about this a lot on my channel. I thought this time of my life, I was under this illusion that this would be this free time, work, check, kids raised, check, time to go travel, relax, go see the world, live it up. No, my mother just passed away in July, heart attack. And for a while there, I was looking after her. I was being her caretaker, making sure that she was fine. A son who's in college. So I'm a perfect sandwich generation here. And there's so many women who are right here with me, who are still kind of raising kids, bringing them up, making sure that they're landing safely, they're, growing and maturing and making good choices. Our parents are living older. A lot of us are having to care for aging parents. I know a lot of friends of mine who are in situations where parents have dementia or Alzheimer's. And it's brutal, Caroline, the things that they have to do, the things that they hear, and just constantly running and caring for. And, it's so sad what happens, because it's like you lose a parent twice. You lose them in the present human world, because they're not the same. And they go through these changes where, there's anger and there's resentment, and they lash out and they can say hurtful things aside from forgetting who you are. So I have so many friends who are experiencing that loss while the parent is still alive. And then comes the loss when the parent is no longer here. So it's just a very stressful time. You have the economy. People can't afford to retire now. They're not set up for it. Too many expenses for children, college, parents, retirement home, money's going out. And a lot of us are in a situation where we're having to work harder and longer than we ever anticipated. All of those things create an enormous amount of stress on the body, stress on the heart, raised cortisol levels. Then if we're not making good food choices, then if we're not exercising, then if we're not sleeping, no wonder why so many women are having heart attacks these days. No wonder.
Yeah, it is. My mum is in England, and she doesn't even turn the lights on at night time because she's worried about how long she's going to live, and she doesn't have an income.
Yes.
If the worst comes to the worst, you come and live with us.
Absolutely.
But still, she's so stubborn. She is so stubborn, and she would rather sit in the dark.
And it's sad, and that's something that falls on you. It falls on your heart. It makes you sad. You're trying to do something, but it's our parents, they get comfortable and they get settled, and moving them and changing their environment is a huge trauma when you're that old. And so they'd rather stay put under those conditions because it's comfortable and familiar, even though you're saying, come here, we'll care for you. But you can't force, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And that's a very difficult thing.
So no processed food, or as little
as possible. Yes.
Because that visceral fat in around your middle is going to not help your heart.
Correct.
A bit of exercise and stress. And there's somebody saying she doesn't even have time to brush her hair. Why do you not have time to brush your hair? You need to talk to someone.
Yes. Yes. We can always, I won't say find time, make time. Do we have to watch the latest TV series? Do we have to scroll on our Instagram feed, shopping for the latest thing that popped up? We get lost in rabbit holes. And before you know it, 30 minutes or an hour has gone by. Guess what you could have done during that time? You could have gone out for a walk. You could have done a quick 10, 15 minute at home weight workout routine. You could have done so many things for your health. We just choose not to because we just get lost, complacent, and it's a priority. I'm a big believer in writing things down, making lists. And if something is important to me, if it's written down and I see it, I'm going to make it happen. But if it's just random and haphazard, you can find a million excuses not to do what it is that you need to do.
Absolutely. I love a list.
Yeah.
I love my iPhone and I have stuff on there, but I like a list.
Me too. I'm old school. I need paper and pen. And I love to journal that way as well. I love to write. That's another great thing that we should talk about, is just the power of journaling and writing down your experiences, what you're feeling, what you're doing. I think there's so much that we forget. And I journaled a lot when my mother had her heart attack and when she was in the hospital, and then, 5 days later she passed. I journaled so much during that time because I didn't want to forget, yes, the hard, difficult moments, but also just the beautiful, sweet things that happened during that time. Maybe a certain thing a nurse said or did, or one who came in and played guitar for my mother, or the chaplain who came in 4 times a day to pray over her and to pray with us. My friend Holly, who was there every time I was. I mean, just all of these super precious, amazing blessings that I don't want to forget the rich details. So I think journaling is such a good thing no matter what you're going through in life, because, it's like sometimes we try to rack our brain, we lose our train of thought. Think about how easy it is to just lose the beauty in the detail. And I think that's really important in this stage of life too, especially if you're going through a lot of things. And, who isn't?
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to be thinking too much about the future when you're thinking about AI and all of that stuff. Live today.
Live today. Make today amazing. Yes. Make it great.
Again, it's gone. I can't believe it. I have someone have a good night time and asked me about it, and it's just gone. It was before the AI. It was, I don't know.
It's okay.
I don't know.
We can talk about it. That's the wonderful thing about Instagram. We can talk about anything.
We can talk about anything.
Yes.
I'm just going to go back and, yes, I can't remember it.
It's okay.
Oh, yes, somebody asked about going on HRT at 66. I understand that you shouldn't go on it 10 years after post-menopause, after you've finished the menopause. That is what I understand, but you would have to find the right doctor to talk to about that, because not everybody will even do that. But that is what I understand.
Yes. And I would too. Dr. Menopause Taylor, Dr. Menopause Taylor is her handle. She's got, the way she recorded her videos, it's like a class. It's like going to menopause school. So it's in succession.
This is the lady.
Yes. Yes, she's got curly hair and she loves the lace and she's
dressed up.
Yes. So she has so much information. So I think for women who are maybe looking to an answer to that question, I know she has addressed it in one of her videos. She also does online consultations as well. So for women, it is. And I do want to put that out there because it's available to you wherever you are. She is not your doctor, but she is your menopause sort of framework person to help you kind of be armed with information and to help you find a doctor in your area so that you can go and ask and have information. And she arms you with knowledge. So to me, I would rather talk to somebody like that and then take the information that I have and find somebody who can either execute it or, present parallel or maybe, different information to figure out what's best for you. But like we've been saying, one size isn't fit all, and we've got to figure out what's right for us.
Also, you have to find a doctor that you have a rapport with.
Yes.
There is no point seeing somebody that you can't completely open up to and somebody that you think is biased also.
Correct.
And there are some great doctors out there. Just tell me her name again. I'm going to tag her in this.
Yes, it's Menopause Taylor. So that's her handle, at Menopause Taylor, Taylor. And it's Dr. Barbie Taylor.
She might not be everybody's cup of tea, but she is amazing.
She's amazing. Yes, her content's incredible. Dr. Susan is another one. She's based here in Houston. She was a traditional OB-GYN, and they talk about how when they get their, become a doctor, they have essentially 1 day of menopause education. 1 day. So there's a huge gap. She shifted over to midlife care, complete women's midlife care. Is that Susan, Complete Women Midlife Care. And you can find her online as well. And what she does, and like Barbie, you know, they do an hour-long consultation. An hour.
Amazing.
When was the last time a doctor spent an hour with you?
And it would be good for your soul also.
Yes, to be heard, to be heard. I mean, so many women are dismissed. You have depression, you know, you have this, you have that. How can a doctor hear you in 5 minutes?
Yeah, she's great.
Yep.
I just wanted to say on my page there is an M there,
Okay.
and it has menopause doctors from all over the world.
Ah,
and
that's
if
good.
you don't have a menopause doctor near you who is pro HRT and will give you both sides,
Yep.
you can message me and I will ask around and try and hook you up with a doctor.
That's
and oh, Dr. Richter, I need all of these. If you've got a great person, tell me, please DM me and tell me, and I will add them to that list, because there are people all over the world without help.
Yes, looking. And I love that you are doing that. I love it. I mean, for me, that's why we're here. We're here to have dialogues about midlife. We're here to show women the possibilities in midlife. Look at you, this wonderful new career opportunity, you know, for you to be a model, to be in British Vogue, for you to suddenly rethink the definition of what beauty is and to be a part of that definition, which I think is so extraordinary and wonderful. And I look at your beautiful face and your sweet heart, and I think, you know, thank goodness there are women out there who saw opportunity and they ran for it. You know, they went. And to have platforms, to have these conversations, to share practitioners, to share thought leaders, to share our ideas. Doesn't mean, you know, people have to fall in line with what we're doing, but let's have a conversation. Let's open it up.
That's what women are good at. They're good at talking.
Yes.
And the more you talk, the more you will find your passion. And that's, I think, what we have both done. And we are passionate about life. And we both want to help other women be passionate about being alive and being in their middle years.
Yeah, midlife is the best life. It's our prime. You know, it's a wonderful, wonderful time, I think, to really discover and rediscover who you are, and to put that face out there and to be unapologetic about it, to be kind to you. I just think it's ripe with opportunity. We're smarter. We are seeking knowledge. We are wanting to do better. And I think the more that we do those deep dives, the more that we take the time to care for ourselves, the better caregivers we are for others, the better we are able to give, to show love, to show compassion, to show grace. You know, to me, it's reciprocal. It's receive, give, receive, give. It's this constant cycle that's in motion, and that's where the true joy lies. And not just, you know, receiving, but it's like, I want to impart what it is that I've learned. I want to share what's working for me. You know, if I can impact one woman to make a difference in her life, then, you know, thank you, God. That's the blessing right there.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining me. And I could talk to you all evening.
Me too.
But I think it is just delightful speaking to you, and I know that I'm going to spend the rest of my evening on a high because you have given that to me. So thank you for joining us, and I hope we get to talk again.
We will, and you are part of my tribe, my dear. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay.
Oh, daytime.
Yes, indeed. You as well. Bye.
Bye.